This is Lucas. He has a tree branch growing out of his head, and he's a de facto slave for a mercenary group who loves pillaging and some other stuff, and he hates everything and knows nothing except music. Then he gets functionally adopted by the morally ambiguous pope of his country and learns that society is centered around this big-ass tower and that his branch gives him special powers and that there are other people with powers too. And actually there are other towers and they have people with branches too, and they are all at war with each other, and there's this dude that makes meteors destroy cities, and if we don't stop him he's gonna hit us soon, and that's all very interesting. But Lucas doesn't give a shit about it, he just wants to be a musician. But then he learns that life can be kinda fun, and then shit gets real interesting. An important detail about the manga before we get to Lucas is that nobody in here is stupid. Sure, we have a couple vulnerable characters, and in a lesser manga they would be generalized as forever gullible and dumb, since their vulnerability is being actively exploited, but that's not the case here. Here, everybody is self-aware. Our boy Lucas is 14, he's just a child that's at times, immature, egoistical, even close-minded, but he isn't stupid. Every time an important decision is left to him, he either has a clear plan for what to do, or he goes, yo, give me a minute, I need to ask a couple extra questions and think about this for a sec, and then he has a good plan. Now, all of those decisions are left up to him because his role in the Ramos team he is in is to be a captain, to be the leader, the commander, but he's still a child and he isn't exactly perfect for the role. But he is still a good kid, in the same way that the Hit is a useless gambling bum, but he's a good friend, And honestly, that's probably the most notable thing about the characters, is that they're almost effortlessly nuanced, which I think is a very hard thing to do when you have so many crazy personalities. For example, if we take my beloved Chainsaw Man, which has so many out-of-pocket characters. And I see him, I look at all the quirky dudes and gals, and sometimes they just feel empty, impersonal even. Here though, that's not the case. Even the people we see for a chapter has something special and personable to them, and that's simply because the manga is more grounded. Chainsaw Man plays with reality itself, and concepts that concern these other fictional worlds and beings, but in this, the setting and everything in it is just very close to the ground and realistic. Because yeah, these dudes got powers and everything, but of course if your power isn't all that useful in battle, you're just gonna chill and stay at the capital. And of course if you don't use your power in a smart way, you're gonna get murked. And obviously, if there's an important decision to be made regarding an enemy, we don't just call upon the power of friendship and battle it out. No, we sit down, we talk, we think, we discuss, and we make a decision. And if the decision is to fight, naturally controlling meteors that can wipe out cities and having long-ass arms aren't exactly equal in power. Still, the manga has made it perfectly clear that the most important thing in a fight is strategy. And that's not only because Lucas's power is to literally control soldiers and do war strategies, but it's also because it's written at the very core of the manga. Let me give you a little example. We find out what everybody's powers are, and this girl can telepathically control small objects that she has touched, which objectively, compared to most, not really a great power. And a chapter after that, we see the gang defending a fortress. The two armies are fighting each other, as well as every side having a Ramos fighting in the front lines. Out of nowhere, there is a big explosion to the wall of the fortress, and we deduce that it's the work of an enemy Ramos that's shooting enhanced arrows at our defending wall. We find the Ramos, but the soldiers around them are covering for him, and how do we find an answer for the situation? Well, first off, we deal with the arrows that are soon going to kill us. And to do that, we get Poppy to touch an arrow and shoot it, controlling it mid-air with her power to hit the exploding arrow before it hits us. And with that neutralized, we concentrate on what to do next. That level of simple to grasp strategy is what I love to see, because it all exists on a very realistic, fundamental level. Because man, I love all kinds of smart writing, but if the complex scenario I'm reading is based on completely made-up logic, the more complicated it gets, the more I feel the strategy slipping into random power scaling. And that's obviously not the case here. There are really powerful abilities that, if used well, can make a broken but easy to understand scenario, and for our team to win, they need to think of an even more broken way to use their powers, and we observe this nice build-up until one side comes out victorious. And let me tell you, the manga is so damn fun to experience when everything just clicks in place. Man, Lucas didn't care about this world at the start, but boy, I did. This shit felt so mysterious and fresh as a story, and at the start the biggest reason for that was the Pope. At first we don't know anything about him apart from the very basic information he tells us, but even then there is something strange about him, and in chapter 3 we see directly that there's something very fishy going on with him. And as the manga progresses, so does our knowledge of him. And we also discover new rules that the Ramos are supposed to abide by, a new context for their powers, and so many more interesting details about the world. I'd say the story is separated into three main things: my man, the mystery, and the fights. Lucas's progress as a person is what's pulling the story forward. You could say that it's most characters' progress instead of just his, but keeping with the realism, most older people are very set in their ways, and we don't see them changing in any meaningful way. We discover new aspects of their personalities, which is fun, but there is no real development. However, he and all the other children are an incredibly enthralling aspect of the story, since they're actively molded by their surroundings via, being children, and since they all have superpowers, they're molding the world back in a way, and they're leaving an impact as they're developing. It's definitely no coincidence that the three children are arguably the most powerful Ramos we know of, making their influence pretty damn noticeable. Now, I say Zoe and Lucas are on par with the Garland Ramos because they're actively being chased because they have a big chance to flower, which no doubt will happen soon, and I can't wait to see how that unfolds. Also, since we are on Garland, my personal theory is that she's going to betray or sacrifice her dad, or he's somehow going to suffer the consequences of going out of his way to raise a psychopath, which I think will be pretty neat. Last spoiler, damn, the Pope's setup is so damn cool. The rulers of the different towers have been at war with each other for millennia, we know that much. My thinking here is that since a Ramos dies, its power returns to the tower it originated from. The popes can probably place the powers after a while in newborn babies, making the larger context for the world to be just chess, but the pieces have personalities, and it depends on the players to move and manipulate their pieces better than their opponents to win or take over the other towers, or to whatever the purpose of all this is. Now, a lot of this is my speculation, and it may be wrong, because when the dudes were talking in the bar, this brother hinted towards a larger goal, something greater motivating all the popes to fight with each other. So perhaps my theory is only partially right, but regardless, I still really like the concept we've developed so far. The art is very easy to understand, but still complicated in its detail and line work, which is very impressive, but the strongest element about the illustrations has to be the artistic flair that exists everywhere. It's simple stuff, like the enemy's land and tower being covered in darkness to show how menacing their opponents are, or how we play with perspective, which brings some nice visuals to conversations, and even smaller elements like passive storytelling that's happening as a mini C-plot while we follow the other parts of a chapter. That's not all the manga has though, there's always the amazing action. There are so many good old fighting scenes that look great in here, but also there are many fun creative ways the different powers and their impact is represented by the art. But when the unique abilities are combined with the fights, now that's when shit gets really good, and I don't want to visually spoil anything, so you just have to trust me on that one. This manga is a strong highlight from all of the things coming out right now, and I'm genuinely surprised that it's not as popular as did other quality stories that are being published. There are only 17 chapters out right now, but they all are 60 pages, and if we compare that to the 90 pages of a regular weekly manga, there are about 51 chapters translated right now, and the whole experience feels very tight, with its great balance between exciting and calm moments, and it's just a very good start to the new reviews, and I'm giving it a good, decent to a strong 8. Yo, you will never guess who's gotten a little rusty at making manga reviews. I gave the thing an 8 and didn't even mention any negative aspects. And to be fair, there aren't that many, and my main point of contention is that a lot of the things that we're setting up right now, we just haven't gotten around to the payoff for them, which is only natural. After all, the manga is giving the vibe that it's gonna be running for a while, and it's preferable actually that right now in the beginning arcs we set up a lot of things, and as we go on we receive little breadcrumbs, and eventually we get the huge payoffs. And it's only natural that a long-running manga takes a little bit to build up to its greatest moments. And right now this is showing so much potential, because everything we have right now is pure quality. So I am very hopeful for the future of this manga, and I believe it does deserve the 8, even though I maybe didn't give as extensive reasons as I would have in the past. Normally this is the part of the video where I tell you the next 3 mangas that I'm gonna review, and you can read ahead of time and everything. But right now I'm still figuring out the structure for the channel, or the structure for the reviews, so I'm gonna hold off on that for now, but it's definitely coming back. Yakuza Fiancé is gonna be about Yakuza Fiancé. The review format is still in its experimental stages, but by the end of the Yakuza Fiancé review, I believe I'll be able to give you the next couple mangas I'll be reviewing, so you can read ahead of time. We have a new Discord, go check that out. We talk there, we do shit, it's pretty cool. I have nothing else to say.